Hi everybody, this is Carrick from Angry Centaur Gaming, and today I'm bringing you the review for Shadowrun Returns for the PC. Shadowrun got its start on the Sega Genesis, and there were some other games after that, including an Xbox game that was a shooter. Basically, what we're going to do here is do a review of this game. It started out as a Kickstarter, and let's go ahead and see if this is Baldur's Gate or if it's D&D the movie. Now, when it comes to graphics, the game has a nice look to it with fairly detailed environments, though like most games set with a 3/4 view, you can sometimes feel like you're detached from the gameplay and watching the game from a football stadium blimp. Zooming in shows some good detail here and there, but aside from the character portraits, the rest of the graphics range from passable to fairly good. Sort of like an Ashton Kutcher movie, I was never amazed, but I didn't find myself wanting to look away at any one time. Now, when it comes to the music alone, the music is actually pretty good with a nice techno and dark theme throughout, though not as many overall tracks as I would have hoped for, and no real risks taken. In fact, it made me wonder if they had forgotten to realize that there are more musical instruments in the world aside from 9 keys on a digital keyboard and a couple kick drums. There's no real spoken audio, and as you would assume, unless you're high on peyote, that can make the world feel strangely silent in this day and age of spoken dialogue. The sound effects themselves are highly disappointing, and I felt the frown on my face within seconds as the first gunshots and hit encounter sounds began to play. It sounds like they decided to mix the audio using a Casio keyboard from the 1980s, and like the flock of seagulls deciding to split up, that was a terrible mistake. But let's talk about gameplay. First up is the role-playing itself, which is impacted by the race, sex, and class you choose to be within the game world. Though all the narrative is in text, you still see the impact that your choices make on the game world. It feels like, there don't seem to be a ton of choices, to be honest. This isn't Planescape, Torment, or even Baldur's Gate. In fact, it feels more like Icewind Dale 1 and 2, with a couple various choices, but not a massive undertaking to make the player feel like there's an alternate world going on around them, any more than most other role-playing games currently out. So unless you're currently snorting crank and cleaning behind your refrigerator with a toothbrush and thus cannot be impacted by negative news, that's sad, really sad. They had a chance to really knock it out of the park, and instead we got a T-ball hit to first base. Next up is combat, turn-based strategy, no surprises here. It's the bed you slept in last night and the bed you'll sleep in tomorrow, and that's where I started to really get depressed. Because with the lack of spoken dialogue, the lack of super fleshy story, the lack of punching audio, the lack of blah 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 blah, well, you get it. I'm not saying I was looking for razors in my utility drawer, but the euphoria I expected smashed into the reality of what I was offered. And like a mental train wreck, I ended up just sitting staring at my monitor and wondering why I wasn't playing something better. I also give them the benefit of the doubt, Kickstarter and all that, but at some point your body knows the difference between sex and masturbation, your brain knows the difference between great and good and adequate and what the fuck. And one little bit before we move on to the end, saving graces. How sweet the sound. The editor. The fact that the editor is included and seems somewhat easy to use might be the end-all be-all savior of the game. Like Superman saving Batman from the night Robin was finally going to get him back for all the countless years of treating him like a bitch. The community getting an editor right with the game, and one that seems to point to a brighter future than the current game provides, and though it won't impact my score of the game too much, as the editor is not a game unless you're one of those people, at least they have it. Lastly, the game is crash happy. Across 3 systems, I stopped counting at 20 plus crashes. Crashes when loading levels, talking, fighting, winning, dying, crashing while crashing. I almost think the game made that possible. Like Amanda Bynes in your driveway, you just have to watch your step and always be prepared. So what do you get? A somewhat long role-playing game, but it's also a mercilessly linear role-playing game with some heartstring connections to the past Shadowrun games that promises of a brighter future, but one that relies on fans like Usher or Taylor Swift, with thankfully less makeup required. I review games on a buy, wait for a sale, or actively hide from the game rating scale. This is a sale. The game is already cheaper than most, and if they drop the price a bit more, it's worth it. Like bartering outside Tom's Mystery Girl Bar and Grill, you just have to know what you're getting when you get it. I wanted to rate the game higher, but like Bieber, I would have been puking during my performance because I just can't lie. The game isn't that great. So this is Carrick with Angry Centaur Gaming saying thank you for listening to the review. If you liked it, hit like. If you didn't like it, hit don't like. Put a comment down, subscribe if you can, and peace out, bitches.